Hello, good people, and welcome to the Amateur Hour. My name's Justin,
My name's Tyler.
I'm the one called Junior.
and today's sponsors are EBXYA and Adam Stone. So, it's been a hot minute. We're recording kind of like one after the other, right? Or actually, we skipped a day. And episodes are going up late. Okay, it's been a little minute. There's a lot
They're
going
making
on.
it there. That's the important part,
I
right?
think we'll get into that in a little bit, but there's some things we want to get into, things we want to talk about, discuss, because we have quite a bit for this episode, and I'm pretty excited. We had a nice little quote unquote break, right? But the internet, right? It gets weird. It's a strange place. Junior, you've been pretty interested in the internet pretty recently. What are some things you gotta say?
I don't know about interested, but just like there's so many rumors that pop up, who's being cast or who's supposedly cast for this Marvel movie, what's gonna happen with the next phone, and it's just kind of like, why not let us just be surprised? Why does everyone dedicate their life to, releasing rumors ahead of time and just, I don't know. I feel like it takes the fun out of it.
I feel like I would agree to that. It's like back then where like magazines were like always like the new like drama centric thing, like, ooh, what happened to Tom Cruise and whatever, getting divorced or getting married, and it was like always the rumor centric section of the media. So I could agree with you on that one. Like they're always dropping rumors on the next how would you say, on the next phone or the next Xbox system or PlayStation system, or like you said, even characters. Have you been engulfed in like the recent rumors and stuff for Spider-Man?
Yeah, and I'll just quickly say I don't think I'm excited for that movie, but
Really?
Really?
What
no,
I heard Spider-Man and I knew Justin was excited.
what makes you unexcited for that movie?
because I feel like Sony's trying to do a cash grab and basically do like a live version of the animated movie that came out recently.
Yeah, Into the Spider-Verse.
Yeah,
I mean,
so I feel like Sony's just trying to copy that idea as a cash grab.
it could
So.
be. It could be. Like,
It'll be an awesome cash grab.
What happened there?
I said, but it'll be an awesome cash grab.
To be honest, like, don't you love Tobey Maguire as Spider-Man? Like, I
Tobey?
loved him as Spider-Man. Those first Spider-Man films
Spider-Man.
that came out was just amazing.
Yeah, they were pretty good. Sam Raimi's pretty awesome. I mean, he made Evil Dead series as well.
Yeah,
Love
and
that
he's
movie.
directing the Doctor Strange too. So I'm excited to see what he's gonna do for that. So it's like they're sort of bringing him back home, back to Marvel, and I think that's like you said, an exciting feature or exciting feat. I don't know. I think when it comes to Spider-Man though, this like the Spider-Verse is such a huge important part to Spider-Man because it's different than the multiverse. It's way different than time travel or whatever. It's like it has to deal with like the web of fate, and it's a whole other aspect to it. So I wonder how they're going to sort of discuss the whole, introduction of like all these different Spider-Man and stuff like that. I wonder if it's gonna be the Spider-Verse or they're gonna use the quantum realm and all that jazz that happened in Avengers Endgame and then Avengers Infinity War. So
Is it
But yeah.
just Sony? Or
what
is
happened?
Marvel involved too?
For what, with this new film?
Yeah.
This new film,
Yes.
I think it's Marvel who's kind of out for the cash grab then, because Sony owns the rights to Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And they're the ones who normally say what's good to go or not, especially for like Into the Spider-Verse and stuff, for animated. But in Marvel and Sony are doing like a shared licenses thing where they got like right now they have a contract for the Spider-Man films only. So and that's
Yeah,
the
that's what I was
specific
wondering
Tom
about
Holland
it.
ones.
Because I was like, well, because maybe this was just Sony's own thing that they were doing. I wasn't sure if it was like part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe or whatnot. Because I mean, if Marvel wasn't involved, then that scared me a little bit. Because Sony Spider-Man last by themselves the last few times wasn't the greatest. It wasn't
Yeah.
awful, but it wasn't.
The Andrew Garfield, I liked the first Spider-Man. I was like, oh, cool, the Amazing Spider-Man, awesome. And then I got to the second one, and I was like, like I
Lot.
wasn't too impressed by it. Like half the film, I thought it was really cool, but like the other half, I thought was really dumb. Like their introduction of Green Goblin was horrible. And same for Rhino. I was like so disappointed with those two things. Kind of like ruined the movie for me.
Well, hey, and now supposedly they're coming back, right?
Yeah, now
Yeah,
you have Andrew Garfield coming back, and I'm like, oh gosh. Now Jamie Foxx as Electro, he did. I think he did a pretty phenomenal job. I kudos to him. Hats off to him. Like I applaud that guy. He did a fantastic job as that villain. And I'm excited to see him come back. I'm excited to see Dr. Octopus come back, the actor who played him in Spider-Man 2. And I'm excited to see Tobey Maguire and, Andrew Garfield too. He wasn't horrible, like I said. It was just that second film was kind of rough. Um, so I
he
don't
did him
know,
dirty.
Junior. I'm kind of hyped. It could be a cash grab, but I mean, if they do it right, it's a good
It just
cash
sounds like
grab.
a too big of a thing to do in a movie.
That is a bit of a big thing to do. It's gonna be hard to keep up, and then it's like, okay, you do this in Spider-Man 3. Now what happens if you go to Spider-Man 4, right? Like, is it gonna be? How are you gonna not now introduce the Spider-Verse? I don't know. It could be paving the way for Miles Morales in live action, which I would be excited to see.
Yeah, I'd be excited to see that. But this is one of those cases where it's like the internet rumors like kind of like ruined it for me. It's just
Yeah.
like I don't know. I'm going in with low expectations now at this point.
I feel like it's if they do that movie, Marvel will be in the exact same boat as they are right now with Endgame. I mean, Endgame was massive. Put a lot of stuff into one movie. I feel like it's kind of in the same boat. So there'll be kind of like a slope down, and then it'll go back up at the conclusion of the next phase and stuff like that. But I don't know. I kind of like the rumors because then you get like it builds hype around the movies. Like right now, the minute they announced Tobey Maguire might be in the movie, instantly the movie got like 600 times better for most people.
Dude, I'm excited for it. Okay, but what else
I'm
has the
excited.
internet? Oh, you know what? The internet has ruined a little bit something. Not ruined it completely for me, but we'll be talking about it in the after break, but or not after this break, but a little bit later in the podcast. It kind of ruined my expectation for Cyberpunk, and I got a lot to say about Cyberpunk, and not all of it is as positive as the rumors have been. So that's why I'm ready to.
Yeah,
It's gonna be good for a few. It's not gonna be a crazy rip on Cyberpunk, but I'm gonna save it for later. Because I have a lot more to say on it. But Junior, I can get behind that the internet does kind of ruin my perceptions of things.
or even
Um,
like when new phone like when they're like, oh, here's the new features for the new phone, and you're like, oh, it's gonna be really cool, and then it's not the case when the phone comes out.
Right? They overhype everything, and then you get it, and you're like, oh yeah, I mean it works, but oh okay.
I mean, it works. It's not a full screen phone, he's still got holes and whatnot.
Or like oh my gosh, like okay, I'm trying to think of something else now. Yeah, the internet well, but what can you say though, right? Like the internet's like such a wild animal. Like there's only so much you could do. Like it's a flood of just crazy negativity at times. It's a flood of just lies. It's
At
just there's
times,
so
all
much
the
going.
time, man. That's what
There's
the
so
internet's
much
built on.
strange almost toxicity at times too in just the internet. Like it's insane. I mean, you got like the internet that has the ability to cancel actors and actresses. Like, you literally the internet could ruin a person's career. So like that's just absolutely insane to me. Um but like that's the will of the beast, I guess, right? Like what can we do essentially about that whole situation? That's the unfortunate part of our good old friends from the internet. But in talking about that, you kind of discuss ruining phones and ruining the idea of phones. Um, and Tyler, we had talked about on our podcast, quite a bit ago. And you know us, we're phone fanatics. Tyler ended up getting the new iPhone, I believe, right?
Yes, I did. I have to apologize for my cat. I don't know if you guys heard that, but
Oh,
she's
don't
being
worry.
extra needy
Mine
right
is
now.
mine is climbing in the closet, so you might hear her banging
Oh,
in a
mine was
few.
like meowing bloody murder in the other room, and I didn't know if it was hurt or not. So now I'm like cuddling her, so she shuts up.
So, how are
But
you
yeah,
enjoying your new phone?
well, let's say the transition really wasn't great for me, and I don't understand why. So me and Sarah, we both had the Note 10 Pluses. They were great phones. I really liked them, but I used iPhone since the iPhone 4, and there's just features that I was used to that were non-existent on these phones. So I decided to go back because I really missed them. But that was the first hiccup. First of all, this is the first phone I've ever actually pre-ordered. So mine took forever to come in. I got the fancy new blue one, the 12 Pro Max in the new blue color. So, and I will say I really do like the color. It looks beautiful. But Sarah's came in before mine. She just got the black one. So they probably made more of the black one because everyone probably buys the black or the white one or whatever, the basic colors. Well, hers comes in first. And there's an app you download to your Android, and then they connect to each other, and it moves all of your stuff over. Downloads your apps to your iPhone, your pictures, your text messages, everything. It took about an hour, but everything went over to hers perfectly fine. And then she's using it, working all good, no problems. I get mine in. No matter how hard I tried or how many times I tried, it got to about 75% and just said an error occurred. So I
Mm.
had to do all of my stuff manually.
Ooh.
So that was the first big pain in the ass. So I was like, Apple, I just took you out of the box and you failed me.
Oh
I was
gosh.
looking forward to you so much, and I took you out of the box. I got the pretty new color, like $1,000 spent, and you failed me. So that part aside, I went through. Luckily, I had an iPhone not too long ago, so a lot of my contacts were in the cloud. Downloaded all of them. Some of them I actually do have the funny pictures for like the contact photos. I'm a contact photo kind of person. Um, but so I got some of that stuff, and then the only thing I really cared about was my pictures. So I just downloaded them to my computer before I reset my phone. End of story, done. And then I re-downloaded my apps. So had to do all that myself. Not a huge deal, but it was like, why did Sarah's go so smoothly and her phone is just working? And why is mine like a total shit show? So yeah. whatever. But what I will say is when I was looking into the phone, I was doing a bunch of research trying to see if there's any problems or anything like that. And so far, the worst thing that I found is that the 5G can kill your battery like no one knows. That's what
Really?
everyone was saying. But Apple has this auto 5G setting. So it's turned on like that out of the box. And I just left it. And I can stream a YouTube video in 1080, not that 480 garbage anymore, but I can stream it in 1080 without being throttled. And the back of the phone, there is a warm spot. So I'm assuming that's the modem because it only happens when I'm using a lot of data. But the battery, I easily get more than a day's worth of battery. And I always put my phone on the charger overnight. That's fine with me. So the battery life, nothing to worry about. But the big thing that everybody kept saying is when you take this phone out of the box, this is quoted from other people, it just feels like you're holding a premium device. It feels like $1,000 in your hand, a bunch of people were saying. Where I was like, I mean, it's another chunk of metal with glass on it. And it really feel that different, you know? But then I'm holding it next to my Note. And my Note was the top of the line phone when I bought it. And it was still considered one of the top of the line phones. Yeah, the Note 20 is out right now, but everyone's like, the Note 10 and the Note 20, they're so close. But I don't know. It's heavier. That's probably because it's stainless steel instead of aluminum. The glass is definitely smoother on your finger. Like when I used my Note, like if your finger was greasy or sweaty or whatever, it would get stuck on the glass. Like it would suction cup to it. The iPhone does not do that at all. The frosted glass on the back just it feels good in your hand. And then the stainless steel, the fingerprint magnet looks terrible without a case, but it feels good in your hand. So now I'm like, this is what they were talking about. Because my Note 10, if I took the case off my Note 10 and held it and then held my iPhone at the same time, the Note 10 felt like garbage. So I was like, they were right. But I mean, then it just goes to every Apple user's experience. I mean, if you've had an iPhone, even if it's 5 years old iPhone, what I think they still support the iPhone 5S. So that up until now, well, difference of course with the home button. That's another thing I'm getting used to. The gestures. I will say gesture control is a little bit better on an Android device. The Apple gesture control is kind of weird.
Like, what makes it weird?
Well, I had the gesture control on my Android, and you would swipe up from the bottom, and it would go to your home screen. If you swiped up from either of the bottom corners, it would open your Google Assistant. And then, of course, you could say, "Hey, Google." Well, I probably just triggered everyone's devices when they listen. But and then when you wanted to go back, you just took a finger from either side of the screen and you just swiped from the side, and that was like hitting the back button. Well, iPhone, say I open an app, and then I'm so used to just hitting the back button and it closes that app or it just goes back a step. And well, this phone, in some cases, it'll go back depending on the app you're using. But in most cases, you'll just scroll to the side and you're like, damn it, that didn't work. And now you got to find your way back to where you were in the app.
Oh my
So that's a little different. The notification center on my phone, using a big screen phone, there was a setting you could turn on where you could just pull down from the center of your screen and it would show you your notification center. Well, on this phone, if you pull down from the middle of the screen, it gives you your Siri suggestions and your phone search.
Oh god.
So you have to actually pull the clock down to get your notifications, which is still super easy, but I'm not used to it. And then on the other side, if you pull there's a part that has how many bars you have, your Wi-Fi, and then your battery life. If you pull that down, you get what Apple calls their control center. That's where you can turn stuff on and off. You can adjust your brightness, your flashlights and stuff's in there. It'll show you your battery percentage, all that stuff. Whereas on an Android, when you just pulled down in the middle of the screen, you got both of those on one big screen. And I'm like, I have a 6.7 inch screen. It's the same size screen as my Note 10. There's plenty of room on the screen to have them both always displayed. Now, the notch. Everyone said the notch. If you have an Android and then you go to an iPhone, you're going to be like the notch every time you open it. But I use my phone in dark mode. Always have. From the day it came out, I've always used dark mode. You don't really see the notch. And when you're watching a YouTube video in widescreen, the bars are usually on the sides of the screen to get like the perfect aspect ratio, and they're just on the edge of the notch. So the notch is already in a black bar. Now, I don't play many like phone games or whatever. So a lot of people say when you're in games, the notch is always in the way, or sometimes there's buttons behind the notch. So I'm like, okay, then how do you press it? But I don't really play phone games, so I can't really speak for that. But the notch hasn't been an issue for me.
What is this notch you're talking about?
You don't know what the iPhone notch is?
Oh, no clue.
Wait, don't you have a what iPhone do you have?
You just talking about like the speaker spot?
Yeah, that's
On the top of the screen. It has all the cameras and the scanners for face unlock, and it's about 1.5 inches wide, I would say, maybe a little less than that. But it's just a notch that bumps down in your screen.
Oh, okay, so it's like my phone.
yeah.
Yeah, what phone do you have?
I have the XR.
Yep, yours has a notch.
Yeah.
Like on Justin's phone, you have the Pixel, and Junior, I don't know if you have a S10, right?
Yeah.
You guys have the hole punch like my Note had.
Yes, it's
A
so
lot
beautiful.
smaller. You can fit a lot more at the top of that screen. Well, the iPhone has the notch. So
Never noticed it until now.
if you look at it in the light, there's like 4 different holes in it that have different types of sensors in them, and then there's a speaker in the middle. And if you look at them, like, okay, I don't know what's underneath the glass unless I were to take it apart, but it looks like you can make that notch so much smaller, but Apple won't.
Well, yeah, and then they're trying to fit all their sensors and stuff for the face unlock because it doesn't
Right.
seem like they want to let that feature go.
Oh, and let me tell you, I was looking into the phone, and the new iPad has a thumbprint sensor or fingerprint sensor in the power button.
Oh.
And there was so many rumors of that making it to the new iPhone. I was excited
Hey.
because we were going one of the reasons I chose to try out an Android was like, okay, I was kind of curious to see how good Android was now that it's not, it used to be known for being a little bit buggy now and then, and I haven't heard that for a long time. So I'm like, cool, I'm going to try Android. I'm going to see what this is all about. But then I went to the phone store and Sarah's like, well, I want the iPhone 10. Well, the iPhone 10, they were talking about all these problems. And they took out the fingerprint sensor. And then all of a sudden we're looking at this Note 10 Plus, and I'm looking at the Note 10 Plus and holding it next to an iPhone. I think it was an 11 Pro Max or something like that. And I'm just like, does the Note have a fingerprint sensor? Because there wasn't anything on it. And then the guy in the store, he's like, oh yeah, it's under the screen. I'm like, whoa, okay. And I'm like, a fingerprint sensor. And it also did Face ID. It wasn't as good as Apple's Face ID, but it did it.
Because
I don't think I don't think that was
basically just-
anything to brag
It
about.
basically just looked at your picture, and if it was the same picture, like you could face
yeah.
your phone at a portrait on the wall, and it would unlock your phone. If it wasn't.
Yeah. We don't talk about that here at Android.
Like my aunt had that. She has a Note 9 or a Note 8 or something like that, and she's like, it has Face ID like the new iPhone. It's cool. It's so safe. And I pulled up her contact picture.
I would have told her.
and I held the phone face to face, and it unlocked. And I was like, your phone's not safe.
What's a
I could look
Face
up your
ID?
Facebook
What?
picture and unlock your phone. But So I went for the Note 10 because it had that fingerprint sensor. And so now I can say I've used both of the latest versions of iOS and Android. And iOS works fast. That is one thing I can say for sure. This phone does things faster than my Note 10 Plus did. Now it has Apple's A14 chip in it. Of course, if you have Apple making your chip and Apple making your software, they're going to work good together. There's no doubt about that. Whereas Google makes Android, but Google doesn't make the processor that runs Android. And then I don't know what the what's the brand of processors Androids usually use?
The brand of
Ed
processors.
Junior, do you know?
Not off the top of my head. For some reason, I want to say it's Snapdragon, but that doesn't seem right.
Snapdragon. That's it.
Okay, yeah, I was
Um,
thinking Snapdragon, and then I was either gonna say Snapdragon or AMD, but I'm like AMD's not. What?
Not AMD.
I'm like, yeah.
But then
I was like, it's not it, what
Samsung,
the
they
heck?
made their own processor, and it wasn't available like the Snapdragon versions of the phone. But it did work a little bit better because they made that specific for their phone. So, and Snapdragon, it's a processor that can run a lot of different devices. If you have a phone with a Snapdragon processor, you can run Linux on your phone because it's just an open source processor pretty much. But Apple, that's just one of their things. The processor in this phone, the graphics in this phone are definitely better than what I could tell on my Note. So everything does it a little bit faster. Animations are smoother. I will say it's still a 60 hertz display, but I really don't do anything where I need more than 60 hertz. So I guess that's fine. A little bit disappointing. I was hoping for like 90 hertz, or hell, even if they did a 75 hertz display, that would have been a huge improvement. But I guess they did it because of battery life, which that's one thing about the iPhone. It's not even. I'd have to look it up, but I think the battery in my phone is less than 3,000 milliamp.
What? For that big of a phone?
I think so. But my phone has better battery life than my Note 10 that had like a 4,000 or something like that. I don't know. I'll do a quick Google. I'm sure I can find it in like 30
search that up
seconds.
real quick. That's strange. But I see mine has a 4,000 milliamp battery though, and I love my battery. Pixel 5, you did me well. I think the only thing I would complain about the Pixel 5 is like the front-facing camera is not as clear, It's at least when I use it on Snapchat, it's absolutely horrible.
Okay, I was thinking about the Pro, not the Pro Max. The Pro
Okay.
Max has a 3,600 milliamp battery. 3,687 to be exact. But
Okay.
still, that's marginally smaller than my Note, and this battery is way more efficient than my Note by
Do you
far.
think it's possibly because it's like not running the apps open as much, like for the phone?
Well, see, I don't know because I'm always closing my apps. And that is one complaint I have. My iPhone and Android, there is a close all apps button. In iPhone, there's not. You have to swipe them all away. So that gets annoying. But no matter what, I've always closed all my apps all the time. So if I wasn't holding my phone in my hand, chances are there wasn't an app running. So that being said, that the phone is basically just standby. What was my Android doing all the time that caused that battery to go by so much faster?
That's what I'm curious about. I think it was like running, because sometimes like I would notice that where I would be getting background apps that are continuously like showing up in the background. Excuse me.
Right.
And maybe that could have been the issue, because that happens to me sometimes where I notice, like I said, I notice there's an app, like I closed out of it, but it's still running in the background. So then like
Right.
I have to hold it down and then hit force close. Um, but other than that, like it, I don't know. My S10 never did that too much. Neither does my Pixel. So I don't know. Maybe the
I
Note 10 had its kinks.
I mean, the Note 10 had way more storage, way more RAM, a stronger processor. So it may have been doing more in the background at the same time, whereas your guys' phones, they don't have that much. So Android may be adjusting, you know, like, okay, here's the Note 10. Let's just say for simple numbers, the Note 10 has 10 cores. Okay, your Pixel, let's just say it has 6 cores. I know these numbers aren't right, but Android's being like, I have less resources. I can't do as much at the here with this phone. But now on the Note 10, Android's like, I have all these resources. I can do all this right now still and not affect the user. So maybe that's why the battery was so different. But
Possibly. So
it seems like Apple's management, and we're talking battery management, RAM management, application management, everything just feels so much more efficient. The phone just works smooth no matter what. Not to say my Android didn't, but
did
it's,
you happen to get a new case for your phone?
I did. I wasn't. I ordered a case and everything, and I made sure it all got here before the phone because I was like, this phone can't come out of the box unless it's in a case.
Did you get the Rhino Shield case at all?
I thought about it, and I just couldn't decide on a color. So I ended up getting a Catalyst case because it had really good reviews, really good drop ratings, and it's not like big and bulky. It's still, you know, nice and slim, but
Yeah,
I
you
do
gotta
like
see
it.
it. I can't wait to. I want to see that in person. That phone must look nice. I do have to admit, the color of it looks really sexy.
Oh, dude, when I took it out of the box, I was like, this does not look like the pictures, but I really like it.
So then, overall experience, you're enjoying the new iPhone.
Other than like small things on Android, it handles copy and paste differently, and I like the way they handle copy and paste. iPhone, it's just the way you manipulate the phone is a little bit different. On Android, you'd see a text box, you press your finger in for a second, and then options would come up. On Apple, you see the text box, you touch the text box, and it opens your keyboard, and then you touch the text box again, and it gives you all your options. So there's just those little differences. I'm used to the way Android works, but I still like the way Apple works. And there's one thing I was gonna get into. Oh, widgets. When I had my iPhone 8 Plus, that was the last iPhone I had. I couldn't have widgets
Ooh,
on iOS 14. Now I can have all my widgets.
really?
It feels kind of like Android. Android's widgets are superior for sure. There's no doubt about that. But I can put my clock widget on my screen. I can put my weather widget on my screen. I don't have to open these apps to see my quick information. They're already there just like they were on Android. And
What
then the other thing is the app library. I don't know how long the app library has been a thing, but like I said, I didn't have it on my 8 Plus. But the app library is, how on Android where you'd swipe up and it would show you all your apps?
Yes.
Well, on this one, if I swipe to the last screen, I can see all the different categories and all my different apps. I can scroll through there and see all the different stuff. So I was able to do the stuff I used the most on my home screen, and I don't have to scroll through pages anymore. I love it. If anyone's an iPhone user, they know what I'm talking about. When you had 20 apps on your phone, you were scrolling through 2 or 3 pages to get to your apps. Well, now all my main apps are on my home screen, and I take one swipe to the left, and it brings up my app library. And I haven't tried to organize it, or I don't know if you can organize it, but it's just like the app drawer on Android. You swipe down, and you can see all the apps, and you click on a folder, it opens everything in that folder. It just works super smooth.
I think what's insane about just this had brought something up to my mind for the Pixel's way of like managing apps too. Is like when you don't have them on your homepage and like you swipe up, other than how would you say like the Galaxy, like the Samsung, it actually you can't put like the apps into like folders and organize it yourself. It literally just organizes everything for you, like ABC order for all of your apps.
My Note could do folders and stuff.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. The Note and the Android and stuff, Galaxy can do the folders,
Well,
like when you would swipe up. But Pixel, you're not allowed to do that. What the
that's
Pixel
part of your
does,
launcher. See, that's one of the good things about Android. You can download what they call launchers. Like I could download Google's Pixel launcher, and I could make my Note 10 work just like a Pixel.
yeah.
They
But
even had iPhone launchers that I could make my Note 10 look like an iPhone and work like an iPhone. So
but
you can change that stuff.
it was a nice experience. So that's what I'm just saying. It was different and it's nice. I like it. I enjoy it. Um, so, but I'm happy to see that you're having an overall good experience with at least the transition of it. You're happy that you got that.
Man, that first 5 minutes with the phone, you hold the power button and the Apple sign pops up. And you're like, cool, it's turning on. And then I had like 80% battery when I took it out of the box. So I was like, sweet, they charged it for me. And then I'm going through the setup process. You know how every phone you turn it on and you have to go through the menus to get it set up initially. All of it goes so smooth. And I know Sarah's went so smooth. And now I'm setting mine up and I'm thinking in my head, oh, this is going to be so easy. I'm going to download the app to my Android. I'm going to hit go and it's going to do its thing. I tried it like 6 times. It failed me so hard. And right there, I was like, man, do I have a dud iPhone? Is there an issue here? Am I
That
going to
is
have
so
nothing but
sad.
problems with this phone? Am I going to hate this phone? But it was just that one problem I had. My shit wouldn't transfer from my other phone for whatever reason. Ever since that, this phone's been great.
Well, you know what? That's good to hear. You know what? You hit the nail on the head with the rumors though of how of how it ruins everything. And it made me laugh earlier because you're saying like there was rumors of the fingerprint sensor, and you're right, Junior. The internet does.
I'm telling you, man.
Dude. And then I seen them. They released their iPad, and it had the fingerprint sensor. So I'm like, oh, dude, all the pro devices are gonna have that fingerprint sensor, and that's what a bunch of people were saying. And then this phone, I'm finally looking at the final release details on Apple's website when they finally posted the phone. I'm like, there's no fucking sensor. Damn you, Apple.
those
Oh,
those
that's one thing
damn.
I didn't mention this during the phone review. Let's say. The phone only has face unlock.
Yes.
Is it COVID right now? Are we all wearing a mask?
Yes.
Did I think
Oh,
about that when I bought the damn phone?
no, you
I
didn't.
even I even put my mask on and rescanned my face, and it told me failed to scan face.
Oh, Tyler.
So I'm thinking I'll just scan my face with no mask and unlock my phone. I'll put my mask on, I'll scan my face again, and then I'll have like two in there that I
I
can
could
unlock my
picture
No,
Tyler
it's
like taking off his mask just to try and open his phone, and then a bunch of people start shunning him. Like
no.
it's like in public.
I do it all the time where I pick up my phone and I look at it and I'm like, why aren't you unlocking? And then I'm like, oh, I have my mask on. And then you got to type in the code. And,
I didn't even think
I
about that. That's
usually get like
hilarious.
a Subway sandwich for lunch and stuff. And I always use Apple Pay. And it's, you click the button twice and it brings up Apple Pay. You select your card and then it wants your face. And then all of a sudden the phone vibrates because you have your mask on. And then you're like, oh, you want the code? Fuck you. So when I'm not wearing the mask, the phone just bleep right open. When I am wearing a mask, I'm like, this feels so old typing in a code. Like it feels like 6 years ago.
Well, that phone ain't pandemic proof, all right? Freaking
Man, I was so
way to go,
disappointed in
iPhone.
that, and I didn't think about it buying the phone. I'm just like, dude, this is gonna be a cool phone. It's gonna have all these features and stuff. Everything about it sounds cool, and then I get it, and the Face ID, the main way to open the fucking phone, is like a pain in the ass.
So, Junior, you heard of a recent development. Can you tell me what's happening? I'm reading this note and I'm trying not to cry.
I don't know what you're trying to lead into, but if you're referring to Old Country Buffet, yeah, the one in Highland is closed down for good now.
That is absolutely sad, and yes, that's what I'm referring to. It's so sad. Like, so what happened? Why is it
What do
closing
you mean? What
down?
happened? Well, first of all, I don't think Old Country Buffet was making the profits it once was, right? But COVID, man, got to it.
COVID took it away. They just
Yeah, I
couldn't
guess.
keep
Well,
up.
I'm actually kind of interested to see what's gonna happen with what's the other one down the street? Golden Corral.
Oh, Golden Corral. I,
Oh, the one by Home Depot?
Yeah, because it just got redone. So
Yeah, it opened and then all this crap hit it. It was open for a little while before everything came in, but it wouldn't be the first time it closed because it was closed for a while and then they reopened it and redid it. And yeah, like you're saying with the pandemic, who knows?
yeah,
wow, like I'm just shocked. I'm shocked. Like, so Old Country Buffet, like we have such a connection to that, me and my family. It's like that's why I'm so shocked about it. Like it wasn't a place, right, you go to have like fine dining. But I mean it was a decent buffet place. I had no problem with it. I didn't run into
You know,
any
I've been there
issues.
a couple of times when I was younger, and I will say I do remember. I mean, you're a young kid at a buffet. You can eat as much as you want, and you can go straight for the foods that you like. You don't have to eat something you may not like. So the experience I remember there was pretty good. But I'm not going to mention names. But
are you
everyone
sure?
knows
You
I'm in
usually
this.
do.
Well, I'm in the security industry, right? And I go to a lot of different places to work on their systems and service their systems. I am just so surprised that some of these places are passing inspections and remaining open. Because, you're out on the floor where they're always mopping the floors and they're always wiping the tables and they're always keeping everything clean. Okay, as soon as you go through those swinging doors, I have not been in a place that was clean that
Oh,
made me feel like I want to come back and eat there.
well, you know
Like I'm
what?
serious, it's that bad.
I watched Kitchen Nightmares. I can believe you. I
I
seen
like I
all the
said, every
seasons.
place I've been in, unless it was brand new construction, it has been absolutely disgusting.
I mean, aside from that, though, I
And
mean,
that's why I said I wasn't going to mention names. I'm
yeah,
not
yeah,
going to
no,
mention the security
we
company's
for
name,
sure will
and I'm
get.
not going to mention the name of the restaurant that
We
I've
for
been to.
sure would probably get sued.
But I'm just saying it's a common thing amongst all.
But with that said, like when it comes to Old Country Buffet, I have a lot of dead family, okay? So and with that being said, like we always after it was like almost like this odd tradition sort of thing that we would do. And I don't know if many or normally after funerals like you have like you have a dinner afterwards with
I
everybody.
would say I think that's kind of a normal
Is
thing
it?
because
Okay.
I'm
My
the same way. Like my family,
Your
they
family does
either
it
had
too?
a bunch of food at the funeral or we went out to eat somewhere. Like when my grandpa died, what's the place on the corner of 30 and 41?
I'm not sure.
Baker Square,
No,
CC's
it,
30.
Pizza. There's a
it's
lot of things on 30 and 41, man. You got
it's on the corner next to the car wash.
Oh, Teebles.
it's
Teebles, yes.
Yes. That's a
I
that
guess
place is good.
I guess my grandpa and them used to go there a lot. So grandpa knew he was dying. He already filled out, so much money or whatever, and he said that he was going to buy us dinner that day. So that
Oh,
was
that's
one of the
nice.
things. We all had a reservation there. We all had this dinner, and I don't. I think it's just a funeral thing. That's you get
Yeah.
together, you have a nice dinner, and then you go
I
about
didn't
your
know,
day.
right? Like, cause I didn't know if it was like just I haven't been to in like many of other people's funerals, but like I've had a lot of family funerals for mine.
Yeah.
So, but we normally go to Old Country Buffet like all the time. So it's like I have such a connect. I just went there last year when the passing of my grandma and grandpa. We like literally we went there afterward. We just had a meal. We'd stay there till it closed. We knew one of the waiters that was there for years. And like he would always see us every time there was a funeral. Like
Justin, you're okay. I'm close enough to talk to you like this, but it's so weird. Like you're so happy about Old Country Buffet, but it doesn't sound like you had a happy meal there.
Just cramming your face with endless food, crying, huh?
Yeah, I
Well,
mean you're
that's
over here talking about this. You're laughing. You're purely enjoying the conversation, but I'm catching like the content of the conversation, and I'm like, how is he so happy right now? Like you haven't told me a happy moment at this place. But you're like so sad that the place is gone.
well, that's the thing is like I think that's why I'm sad about it. Is because like I had such a connection to the passing of like so many people. But it was like in getting in the reason I guess I'm so happy is like the one thing that I do admit and I love about my family is that like when it comes to tragedy and at the end of after tragedy, we smile, we laugh. Like for us, funerals are like family reunions. Like we're seeing people that we haven't seen in years that are flying out to go, pay their respects to, my grandparents or my aunt or, cousin or something. And you're happy to see them, right? Like
That
when
is
you're at
one
the
thing I
funeral and
can
you're at the
definitely
wake.
agree with.
Yeah,
That's
like
one thing I can definitely because I've seen you guys at hard times and I've seen you guys at happy times, and your mom especially, she'll put a smile on your face no matter what happened. That's just you guys know how to get the good out of the situation. That's one thing I can say is 100% true about at least you guys.
yeah, it's definitely something very true. Like where we try and be as happy and you got to be positive, and I guess in a lot of the
Right.
negative situations, And I'd love to even talk about that more later and just how my brain works towards all that. But like, yeah, in the funeral, it's like it's like one big family get together afterward, right? Like while you're there, right? Normally, I mean, I'm not crying at these things, but like when I was my grandparents, for example, I was like, it was too close to home, essentially. And anyway, like you get all your tears and stuff out there, and then afterwards, it's like it's a lot of remembrance and a lot of just fun at that point. Then you're just joking, you're laughing, you're just having a good time. And no, we would stay there till they closed. And it's like a huge funeral party where we're taking up like 4 or 5 tables put
You know,
together.
I'm gonna have someone from your family organize my funeral
Right?
because it needs to be a better time because I'm not good at handling bad situations.
Yeah, it was a blast. I mean, we did go there to Old Country Buffet for some good times. Like I remember Tyler, we went to see the movie 2012, that disaster movie. Remember we
Hmm.
took you, it was me, you, my grandmother, my mom, and my brother, and like afterward we went to Old Country Buffet. And that was a fun time too. So
Yeah.
I mean, but I think that's where it's a good old rip. Like I was so sad when Junior put this note in there. I was like, what? I was like, no. I was like, I have such connections to there, so many memories. Like since I was like 8 years old, I remember when it first opened. So it's sad to see. My heart goes out to a country buffet in those a lot of those workers that, like I said, I seen a few familiar faces that were working there for years. And I would see them, they're as happy as can be there. So I assume that they were happy, individuals, and it was a good place to work for, essentially. But with that said, in remembrance, right? We're actually 20 minutes over than we normally are before break. So we're going to throw this over to break. I can't wait to come back. We have so much stuff to talk about for current events. A lot of new stuff. So hang tight and enjoy this word from our sponsor. Adam Stone, a unique and talented artist hitting the alternative rock scene. Listen to him as he jams his way into becoming a new hit artist.
But now you will, 'cause I am bringing you down. I'll take you off your chair, setting fire what's left from your hair. Someday.
Listen to Adam Stone singles for free on Spotify, SoundCloud, and YouTube.
Surrounding me. I don't know why I was chosen to live like this every day, every day, every day. I don't know why pain.
You can follow your favorite ghost, Adam Stone, on Instagram and Facebook. Link in the description. And we're back from that word from our sponsors. I hope you guys enjoyed. Be sure, okay? Not, be sure, all right? That's all I'm saying. To go in our description and give us a follow or a subscription on YouTube and hit that notification bell and give us a like, all right? We like likes. Help us get in the algorithm a little bit more because you know what? YouTube says this. If you get more likes, you show up a little bit more. So let's get some more likes in there, guys. And, we're at 40 subscribers. Thank you guys so much. But listen, there's a lot of you listening at 300 views. If we can get just like one of y'all to just hit a subscribe, it'd be fantastic. We're trying to make sure that our URL can show up as the amateur hour, okay? All right? There's our intentions. And on the other platforms, please give us a follow. We're on 4 different platforms, guys. Please utilize us. Whatever you guys feel comfortable. If YouTube's your most comfortable, come over to YouTube. If you like Spotify, we're on Spotify as well. We're also on SoundCloud and Apple Music. So if I were you guys, please check us out on there. With that said, let's get into topics. What's going on? What's new?
Well, I was doing a little bit of research and came across an article saying that PlayStation 5, as of right now, is outselling Xbox 2-1, and it's only becoming a larger margin. So, like at GameStop, for example, they've sold like ungodly amount. It's like 20 million or something like that units, somewhere around in that area. Not 22 million units. And meanwhile, for the Xbox, it's like 1 million units, which
I've actually done a little bit of looking on that. And I think the reason is PC. Because PlayStation, they have at least some exclusive that you get for buying the new PS5. But Microsoft, if it's released for Xbox, you got it on your PC, and all the people that want all the extra horsepower either already do have a PC or are looking to get a PC. So I think that might be a little bit of the reason why I've been seeing that though.
There's been a recent strange it's like Apple, Tyler. Like it's weird. Like you'll see in like TikTok or social media,
Well,
or like
and
I'll
when you
scroll
look
through Instagram, right, for some memes, and I see popping up. It would be like, oh, I'm getting my man the new PS5. It's always like jokes about the PS5. So it's just mainstream for some reason. Like
Yeah.
it's not like what gamers get. It's just what like you get because it's mainstream.
I think also, you know what? it's easy to just say PS5 versus Xbox, but I don't even know what the new Xbox is called, to be honest.
Series X.
That's the big thing. I think the marketing is the reason that the PlayStation 5 is outselling the Xbox right now. Because
Well,
I
and
think
plus,
terrible.
the well, the Xbox, there's no exclusive. There's nothing special you get for buying the Xbox. I mean, better performance, of course, but the PlayStation at least had, I think it had 2 exclusives, didn't it?
Well, what
The
on
Spider-Man
release?
game, and I
On
thought
release, yeah.
Gran
Uh,
Turismo, right?
and a few other games actually, I think that are
Whereas
dropping pretty soon.
Xbox has some planned for the future, but there's none right now. So everyone's like, "Oh, dude, I want that new game. Oh, it's a PlayStation
True.
exclusive. Guess I gotta get the
That
PlayStation."
is a true factor because Xbox was supposed to release Halo on the
Yeah.
launch of their Xbox Series X, but because of COVID-19, and Halo is really, the 343 Industries is like they're really wanting to put out a good Halo because you put out a screwy Halo like that, you're dead.
Oh,
So
Yeah, if they
yeah.
screw up the Halo franchise, it's
Call of Duty
over.
sucks.
Yeah, so what happened?
I said it's like Call of Duty when the new Call of Duty sucks. Everyone's like, "Oh my god, you're shit."
Yeah. Yeah. So they pushed it back for possibly 2021, but some people are upset because they said it might even go longer. But I'm kind of fine with that, if they're going to develop a new Halo game, for one, Halo is my favorite franchise of all time, like, and just favorite game of all time. So if they were to screw up Halo, like, come on now. like I'm kind of
Yeah.
just I'm going to be pissed.
Well, that was like one of my favorite all-time games is Fallout. And when
Yeah.
they released Fallout 76,
Oh yeah.
I was like,
Oh my
"Oh, come
God.
on, guys."
In a cooperative experience that you thought was gonna be so extravagant and it just fell so short. Like, yeah. I
Yeah.
agree.
I,
I
I,
agree.
I bought the game because I had to own the game.
I'm
but-
tempted to get it just because I want to play Fallout cooperatively. But like I don't know, like I don't hear good things about it, so I'm like,
Is it
And-
cross-platform? Because I don't know if it is.
I gotta
'Cause That
check.
would make
I
it
gotta
worth
check.
buying. Because if it's not cross-platform, who are you going to play with?
Right?
Yeah.
It's just but that's some fairly interesting stuff, Austin. Like freaking outselling PS5. I just think it's mainstream. I think that's that's
Well, didn't
its
that
tell.
happen with the Xbox One? Wasn't the PS4 selling out the Xbox One too?
I think
Is the
so.
trend just continuing?
That's
I
what
think what's happened is the game market has become just like kind of like the iPhone versus Android market, where it's no longer which one is better.
Which one do you already have?
Which one do you think? Yeah, which one do you have, and which ones your friends have? Because I mean, I'm not gonna lie, PlayStation has so many like exclusive games that are really awesome and stuff. And Xbox just too nice. They're like, you know what? We're not going to keep our games exclusive. We're going to also release them on PC.
Right.
So
And it
right
becomes
there,
an investment too. I mean, if you bought a PS4 and you bought all these PS4 games, you're supposed to be able to play them on the PS5. Well, if you've made all this investment over time and your game library is revolved around a PlayStation, you're not going to go buy an Xbox.
yeah. I think
Whereas me, I have a computer and an Xbox. It's already combined. I can do either one. So it would make sense for me to buy the Xbox Series X. If I bought a PlayStation, honestly, the only reason I would buy it is for Gran Turismo. And that I'm not spending $690 on Gran Turismo.
Yeah.
Right.
I was thinking maybe Xbox had a chance to at least stay be competitive just because they have the Series X that's like so cheap.
Well, that's
Yeah,
what I'm
and-
thinking we're waiting for. I think
Yeah.
we're waiting for Christmas.
Yeah, because like you have that Series S, which is like a more affordable option than what PlayStation has. So you would think more people would be rocking the Series S, right?
I think the younger generation is gonna make the Xbox explode again around Christmas time, because that's just it. When you're looking at the new consoles to buy for your grandkid or your kid, are you gonna spend all this money on the PS5? Maybe if you're buying it for yourself too. Or if you're just, oh, I want a game console. I want a game console. Mom and Dad, can I get a game console? Okay, fine. We'll get you one for Christmas. And then you find a lower model Xbox.
No. Well, and I can confirm that Black Friday wise, numbers are definitely going to trend towards Xbox because of the fact that Xbox had way more available units. Like they prepared way better than Sony did. Like I stood in line at GameStop where I live, and they had 2 PlayStation 5s to 4 Series X's. So I
Right.
think that the sales from Black Friday are going to help. I don't think it's going to make
Well-
up the difference, but I think maybe once this constant these stupid people buying them up really quickly to resell them kind of chills out, I'm hoping that maybe it's a little closer.
Right. And I think it's because Sony, they're obviously more about profit. It seems like they always have been. They try to
Yeah.
make the elite console. They have all the elite accessories to go with it. You know, now they got this real fancy new controller that you get with the PS5. There always seems like they're, somewhat worried about the status. Where Microsoft, you can either get the console that'll play all your games, or you can get the elite console. And then if you want, you can buy the elite controller, but regardless, it comes with the same controller that we're familiar with. And then when you talk about the network and everything, I mean, it's just more focused around the gamer's experience. Whereas PlayStation, obviously, it's focused around a gamer's experience. It's a gaming console. But it seems like they're more focused on making a profit.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I think the Xbox market's going to explode soon. We're just, like you said, getting out of this. Everyone buying up the stock as soon as it's released, and then we all have to wait again.
And it makes sense in a sense why Sony would be cash grabbing in a sense, because like for Sony, they need to make a profit on this stuff because Sony is nowhere near the size company as Microsoft is. Like,
Right, exactly.
yeah, I think Microsoft, like, and I believe I read at some point, like Microsoft doesn't really even make any money off of Xbox. Like they just do it. I think it's like their fun hobby that they enjoy because they can be super innovative and try things. I don't think they really they care, but they don't necessarily care about the numbers at the end of the day, I think. And that's why it's I mean,
they can afford
they
for
lose
you,
money,
the consumer, to have a better experience rather than having to worry about investments, because the investments are somewhere else. I mean, Microsoft, where do you go anywhere in the world and there's not a Microsoft computer sitting there?
exactly.
I mean, you go to Apple and they use Microsoft computers in some of their development.
Mhm.
So it's huge.
Here's something really funny though. In their launch month, PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X were outsold by the Nintendo Switch. Like
Another fearsome competitor. The Nintendo Switch. Nintendo Switch, though. I mean,
Switch is in its own market.
yeah, it's like it's in its own realm. Like I don't feel it's at competition. It's just like
Well,
you
the
get a
Nintendo
Switch for
Switch
fun,
is
dude.
what Sony tried to do with the PSP. But the difference is the Nintendo Switch was actually successful.
Mhm.
Because the
That's true.
Nintendo Switch is the throw it in your backpack gaming console, play a game while you're on your train ride to school or whatever, or you have kids and you want to bring your game console to your grandma's house, you plug it in the dock and it pops up on the TV. They tried doing that with the PSP and it just didn't grab.
Yeah,
Whereas the
they couldn't
Nintendo
even
Switch, it
break
was
into
like,
that
oh,
market.
they did it right.
Yeah, it's like I'd rather play this Game Boy Advance than a PSP at the time. I even remember that.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I remember those days for sure.
But there's been another big development actually recently too, Austin, that you actually had some little bit of insider information, if you will.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know if people in the Watcher podcast know, but I am in the healthcare field sense. I'm more on the administration side of it, but I was given a little bit of inside information on how things are going to go in terms of this virus, and I figured it would be something kind of interesting to talk about. What you guys think of it? So, um, the state. This is just for the state of Oklahoma. Allegedly, this could potentially be what the plan is. So, looks like they're going to do a system of like 3 phases for the vaccine.
Mm-hmm.
And stage 1, which will start basically the minute that we get the vaccine, it's basically most of the first few vaccines are just going to your healthcare workers, so like your doctors, nurses, stuff like that. And it's also like a 2-phase vaccine, so you have to, it's a double dose. But from what I understand, you have to keep this vaccine like in super cold areas, and when you ready to use it, if you it's no longer cold, you have to use it within like such amount of time, otherwise it's done, it can't work. But one of the cool things is that I've heard at least all the hospitals we work with, because what they did is the Pfizer or whichever company sends out the vaccines, they sent out to like one hospital in like the big populated areas, and then that hospital's in charge of like distributing to these hospitals, and so they distribute them to us, and then we get the vaccines ready. And if say somebody like cancels an appointment or something, and like potentially theoretically, and I may be at the office, I could potentially get vaccinated right there because they don't want to waste them because they're so precious. I mean, those things are like gold right now. So the first phase is just getting it to healthcare workers, and then if there's a vaccine available, giving them to like people who really need them, you know, like the elderly who are prone to having more serious side effects from it, just having an overall worse time with it. And then their phase 2 is it's like supposed to be like a January to March type of thing. It looks like they're going to try to get it. That's whenever it's really going to go out to like people who have more issues, you know, like your diabetics, people who have immune problems, or anybody who's like having really bad side effects. So like if you're in the hospital and you're using one of those COVID beds, they're going to try to get it to you pretty quickly. You would have to use one, I should say. And in the final phase is whenever like us, you know, me, Justin, you, Tyler, Junior, when we would get them because we're younger, we're not as prone to having serious side effects, stuff like that. And the thing that they're worried about, and that won't start till like the spring, so April-ish time, the thing they're worried about is, well, Pfizer has to send all these vaccines to all over the world. They're really concerned about quantity because they're not sure if they're gonna be really hard to find. And my concern is that has that second company been approved for the vaccine? Does anybody know about that one?
I
As
don't know
far
about
as
it.
I'm aware, I haven't heard anything new. I only know of Pfizer as of right now. I haven't heard because I've been keeping at least relatively close to the news. Really not as close as I should have been, but as far as I know, Pfizer's the only one. We could probably look
Gotcha.
that up or something. Let's see.
Yeah, well, he's looking it up. I have like They have like a, I guess shipping is supposed to be like done in 24 hours. Otherwise, it could damage the vaccine. I'm really curious, like how temperamental is this vaccine? Like, are people going to actually accidentally, like these healthcare workers, are they going to accidentally compromise them, and then we're just going to be giving people vaccines that aren't even worth it?
Yeah, that's gonna be kind of scary that if they can't keep it in cold enough environments and then it's just
Yeah,
useless.
because like, what if you get the vaccine and like, okay, yeah, I'm good. You
Mhm.
still want to do your safe practices and stuff, but then you get it a month later after you get the vaccine.
Yeah, right? Everyone just starts going out again. And then just boom.
Mhm. I mean, talking about the vaccine leads me into a question I have for you guys. Do you think, so talking about rumors on the internet too, you guys seen that a lot of companies are talking about making the vaccine mandatory? How do you guys feel about that?
It's that kind of scares me. All right, like I'm not gonna lie, when this vaccine, even if they released it to the full public, I wasn't going to get it right away because think about it, normal vaccines normally take it's normally 2 years. That's the fastest, but normally it's 10 years of a time it takes to properly develop and work and make sure that a vaccine is properly working. Because you have people that are going to react differently to, a shot. Like everyone is going to react different to a flu shot way back when you're first creating it, and so other people's health conditions can be really affected, right? So
Mhm.
me and my family, it's not like we're against vaccinations. Like, it's not that at all. It's just
No
how quickly,
anti-vaxxers.
yeah, it's just how quickly this is being developed that is, I think, even making most Americans afraid. Because I forgot, like, they did some sort of poll, and most Americans were saying that they did not want to take it. And it's just because, not because they're anti vaxxers or anything, but it's they're even understanding that this development process is like so quickly done that it could be, there's kinks. There's for sure going to be kinks in this, vaccination. And like, how is that going to affect you, right? Like, because right, aren't most vaccines, right? You put the virus a little bit in you, and your body develops the antibodies. Isn't that like how a flu shot works?
Yeah, it's like a strain. It's like a dead strain of the virus, basically, that the vaccine puts into you. And
Yeah. So
see, the
it's
thing is, like some people from the flu vaccine, I mean, people will go down by saying that it's not true, but some people I know get the flu vaccine and it makes them sick.
yeah,
So
yeah. I heard the
it's
same.
very curious. I'm very concerned. Kind of, I don't know how to feel about like a company to make it mandatory. Like, what if they pay for the vaccine, stuff like that? Like, to me, like, it's a sensitive subject.
Yeah, it's kind of scary in a way, right? Like, cause like I was thinking about that too. Let's say my school opens up to you can go there or whatever, but now they require that I get the vaccine in order to show up for school. If not, I'm gonna miss out on classes because then they don't offer Zoom classes anymore. That's gonna be kind of scary stuff, and then I'm gonna be forced to take it. It's just gonna be, I don't know. I'm be afraid. If it works, I'm all for it. But it's just like
Yeah.
it's so quickly developed. Like I just don't know how everyone's body is going to
Yeah.
react to it. You know,
Well, it goes by what Pfizer has been saying this whole time. The statistics they've come out with now, granted, statistics can be manipulated, but what they're showing, it looks like it should be everything that we need. The only concerns for me, the main concern for me is not the vaccine itself, is that people won't treat the vaccine correctly because it's so many. Like, I was watching a news thing where they said like you could only open a box with the vaccines in it twice a day for like a few minutes, and then you had to keep it closed. So it's like a lot of restrictions on how to treat this thing and stuff that like any one thing goes wrong. And what happens to the vaccine? Like, does it just make it not work? Does it make it like
Yeah.
actually put a live virus into your body and make you get sick? Like, what is the side effect of it not going, like, being treated correctly?
Yeah, it makes me very afraid when it comes to that. When it comes to that aspect, I don't know what to expect with it. Like, I'm excited for it. Yeah, I'm all for getting back to normal. Like, I'm super excited. Like, I want to get back to normal. I miss being able to be invited to events and always go, as opposed to say, like, sorry guys, like, it's a bit too many people. I think I should stay home because I don't want to get my family sick. And and I want Junior and Tyler to be here for the podcast because there's something about that synergy, at least of them being in the studio and using our studio equipment. And it I don't know, it adds like for such fun factor, and then going out to eat with it. I miss hanging out with Junior, right? And Tyler, like I haven't hung out with them in forever.
Yeah.
Like, I think after this, I want to see if like we have some large get together or something. Like, it's just, so I'm all for everything going back to normal. I just want it to be done in a correct manner that's safe for everybody. Like, I am afraid for those older people, or like people like my mother that have crazily low immunities, and they're going to be injected with this thing. Are they going to recover from it? Is it for sure going to work for those individuals? Or are they just going to get sick and now you just murdered them essentially with this vaccine?
Well, my little sister, she has lupus, so she has an autoimmune disease. And I'm like, my thing is if they didn't come, like, I understand why they rushed it, because they need to get this, because let's be real, the world needs to hurry up and get back to the way it was, or some semblance of it, to where we can like actually do again.
Yeah.
Because I think that this whole quarantine thing, I think that because of it, you're going to see a huge spike in people having mental illness, struggling in those regards, just having all kinds of mental problems because this is like, this was huge. So I think I understand why they rushed it, and everything that they're saying, it sounds like it's gonna work. It's very, very crazy, I guess.
Yeah.
Now, one thing I will say is, one thing that really frustrates me is that media is like, the media's job is to like keep us all from panicking, and I feel like the way that they're talking about this virus is causing like people like us to like really get scared of it and stuff like that. So I think that the media needs to a better job of covering it, in my opinion.
I guess so. I mean, but essentially too, they are doing their job in that regard, because it's like people, regardless. I mean, bro, like you're still seeing people having the insane amount of parties, right? And just doing these super spreader events and stuff like that. And I wish they would just, at least chill a little bit. If you're going to have events, I personally don't like hanging out with more than just 6 people. I think that's the max limit it should be at. So there's just a lot of aspects to it that, I don't know. I could understand, though, that it seems like a little bit fearful, but I think that's just the news itself. I purposely normally don't even turn on the news because of how depressing it is. Like, so I think it's a genuinely grim situation, and there's no way about like going about it a nice way. Unfortunately, it's a pandemic that's affecting the world as a whole, and yeah, so in regards to the vaccine, though, I really hope that it works out. I mean, we'll see. I'm kind of glad that at least they're giving it to these frontline workers and stuff first, because I want to see what's going to happen to them. I'm not going to lie. They're kind of the guinea pigs. we're gonna see
I
what
think
happens in mass quantities.
Yeah,
Like, give it a couple
that's my
months.
concern is seeing what happens to them first. Because, like you were saying earlier, when people get sick, my dad is one that if you take the flu vaccine or the flu shot, he'll be sick for like a few days, but it's a little bit rough. So I don't know if I'm the same way. I've never taken it. But this other one that's going to be like completely foreign to anyone, and I already have other health conditions, so that I'm with Justin. I need to see what's going to happen to them first.
Yeah.
And I
Same
think I
thing.
honestly think that it's like I think it's on those people who have a better immune system to, like, in a sense, kind of do their duty and see like what this vaccine, because like for example, my immune system is very good. Like I rarely ever get sick. Now I did get COVID, and I've had it before, so I know I'm not gonna die from it. But like I feel like in my eyes, I would be more than willing to take the vaccine to make sure like that there's no like crazy side effects for like somebody like my younger sister were to take it, because my immune system is better, so there's a higher chance of me bouncing back. Whereas with her, there's complications. Like you never know what could happen.
Yeah. I agree.
I think it's just really unprecedented, and I can understand why people are concerned about it. I still think like we need to be very careful and not create like such an environment where people are like so against the vaccine, because at the end of the day, the vaccine's whole goal is to try to stop this.
I'm not trying to start some sort of conspiracy type of thing or make people afraid of it, but it's right. There's always cause and effect, and there's certain things that you have to pay attention to. I mean, it's like, right, like getting a phone. It's fantastic and everything, but like, let's say you're getting it for a younger child, you're exposing your child to talk to random strangers, so like there's always a cause and effect for things that I think you always have to just be aware of, at least.
There's a level of concern that you have to always have. You have to be careful because you're putting a foreign material into your body.
And I think too, it's like,
don't know what the outcome is.
it's like just because the government says something doesn't mean you 100% take that as like, you know what, like just because they say, oh, this is going to be good for you, take this virus, that doesn't mean it negates you to like be like, oh, okay, they said it's cool, like let me do it. It's like, no, just give it a second, let it work out.
I'm kind of a history nerd, and I know for a fact that the government has hid things from us and has told fibs. So when the government says to do this, is it a world pandemic that they really want to help right now? Yes. Is it all 100% true? That's something you're just honestly never going to know. So you got to be a little bit careful.
Yeah, and I completely agree with that. I just am concerned with like people who have a following, like I don't like your actors and stuff. Like I just feel like people who have their voices are heard louder than people like us. I feel like they have a duty to just like can speak out, like give their opinion, but people just need to be careful, because
that reminds me of and sorry to cut in a little bit, but there was this actress from the Black Panther films, and she posted some sort of video where it was really just highlighting all the negative facts for the vaccine, and she actually got like she could have lost her job from the next Black Panther film. But everyone was really on her and against the idea that she was sort of spreading this fear of the vaccine, given the factor that she's of such a high importance, and like being looked at by.
Consider too these people that are way above us, and they have these voices that they can say something, and everyone knows they said it. Are they being paid to say a certain thing? Or like you just said, now are they going to lose their job for being honest? So now they won't be honest? There's
So
all that stuff to take into consideration.
yeah, but it's like you do have a duty to like make sure watch what you're saying. Like I think when you become a public figure to a point where you have like millions of followers, you really for your public opinion, and I know this is very unfortunate, right? Everyone deserves the right freedom of speech. That's granted, but you do have to be careful with the things you say because maybe your views aren't necessarily going to line up with like the populace of views, right?
Mhm.
So unfortunately, you just got to be careful with the information and stuff that you're putting out there. So it's a little bit 50-50 for me with like feeling that sort of, how I feel towards that whole topic when it comes to public figures. But Junior, what's your take on this vaccine? Are you what do you feel about it?
Pretty much the same way you do.
Yeah, it's a genuine concern, and I think I'm happy to see our frontline workers getting it first. I would like to see what's going to happen to them. But moving along here, there has been some other recent news, Junior, that you're bringing up, and I'm kind of curious as to what this whole thing with Facebook being under fire is.
Oh, so I mean, basically, if you look at what Instagram, WhatsApp, I can't remember if Facebook owns Snapchat or not, but they just they when these companies were coming up, they're just buying them, and they pretty much created a monopoly, and they're starting to get busted for it. So that's some interesting news.
Starting to, so it's like the government coming down on them. I know you linked the
Yeah,
article,
there's like a
which I'll
lawsuit
make
in place
sure
and everything.
to link in the description for everybody if you want to read on that article specifically for
Well,
this.
see, I understand the monopoly part, but if an owner of this company openly sells their company to this company, what did they do wrong? It's not like they can force the sale.
Well, I think yes, they could essentially. So, like, let's say for example, Amazon does this too. Let's say for example, there was this website that was selling diapers, and I don't remember the name of the website. So please, everyone, I'm sure you'll find it in Google. And I apologize. A lot of our stuff is based predominantly in conversation. Anyway, so the Facebook was doing this thing where there was this website making a lot of money selling diapers online. Amazon, what they do to combat that and they offered to buy the company. The company said no. They're like, well, obviously, if Amazon wants to buy us, we're competitors, so why would we sell to them? So then Amazon, in return, they start releasing their own diapers cheap. They don't care, like whatever. They're just releasing them, and they start outselling now this diaper company. Now, but they still want the label of this diaper company they want to own them essentially, so that way they're not as big of a competitor and they could put it under this branding that's a little bit more brand friendly, easier to, right, sell. And so they did this and they started essentially draining their customer bases and henceforth really, uh, acting as a pincer maneuver where these guys can't like really do much. They're stuck, like they're losing business, so they can't do anything but sell to Amazon. And that's what Facebook could very much be doing.
Oh, and going off the history. So I don't know if you guys ever talk about like Standard Oil whenever you're in high school, like the big Rockefeller company. They're kind of the ones that created this whole like burn over a company monopolizing a market, because they basically completely monopolized all of the oil distribution in the whole United States. And the government forced them to basically sell off portions of their company, split the company into like 4 or 5 different smaller companies that were of course not as big or didn't have as big of a footprint. But I would not be. I kind of think it would be a good thing. I think Facebook has definitely taken over the social media market too much. They have too much of a foot do it. They kind of have a stranglehold. The only thing that's really competing with them, I would say, is uh, Snapchat to a small degree.
And Twitter.
Twitter's a real big one.
Yeah, like that's insane. That is
On
absolutely insane.
I think and to be honest, I feel like Facebook has used their monopolization of that market to kind of control, because at the end of the day, they're kind of like a media a place where people can find out things that are going on, current events and stuff. And I know that right now the Supreme Court was also going at them for some of the things that were on their site.
Yep.
Yeah, because there's laws against like seeing certain things on with one viewpoint versus another. Like you can't really do those types of things. And I guess that they were also in trouble for that. So I think this was like kind of like started with that, and now the government's like going for more is what I think is happening.
I mean, yeah, I think companies, it's about time like they start. Like Disney, I hope they can't buy anymore, because then, they're really then going to have a monopoly on the market as well. It's like companies like that, or Amazon. If they constantly continue to let Amazon to dominate the market and sort of scare these companies into them buying them, it's it's kind of ridiculous, and that's not fair, because I don't want one person dictating the price on all of the things that I buy, regardless if it's on sale or not. Like, I don't care. It's not fair in the business world. Like, as if someone's even studying business, like, then you're really taking away what really constitutes as the American dream, right? Where it's like you can start from nothing and build up a business of your own. It's like, well, how can you do that if you have these huge companies owning everything? Like,
Well, even if
you
you're
know?
not thinking about the American dream, let's just say you're a blue collar worker and just a general consumer. If there is no competition, when I go buy, it like just regular everyday products, maybe paper towels, toilet paper, um, just stuff that you would go to the store on a regular basis for. There's competition that keeps the prices in check. If you eliminate the competition and you get greedy, those prices are going to go, they're going to be way too high.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's going to start going up.
Another thing is that if there's no competition, why innovate?
Yeah, I agree.
If Amazon, or not Amazon, if Android didn't exist, why would Apple spend so much money on R&D when what's you're using right now works, people love it? Why do any more? So they could keep the same thing while also hiking up the price. I know. I think it might have been in the early 2000s. AT&T tried to buy T-Mobile, I believe, and the government stopped them because if they had bought T-Mobile, they would have owned over 50% of the phone market.
Oh my gosh.
And I mean, that would have just changed the game completely. Because then at that point, it's like, okay, AT&T, it would have basically been AT&T versus Verizon and Sprint's kind of wasn't ever really super crazy big. It was decent size, but it would have been really bad. And think about, I think AT&T also bought Time Warner, and that was a big deal. And they were talking about not letting them do that, but that ended up going through. It's just been,
and then to think about it too, Facebook, essentially, they're big, right? This company, essentially, they are selling our information, right? They're selling our likes, our dislikes, or they're selling everything to all these marketing companies and stuff like that, or other businesses and whatnot. All that gathered information is power in the business world. Like, you're trying to sell something, like, the more you know, the better, because then you cater to those people, right? It's guaranteed money, essentially. And I don't want Facebook owning all of my information and selling it like that. And here's the thing. I think we deserve a bit of that informational money. You have all these apps essentially data mining like our information, taking all of our personal information. Facebook, I mean, they have the ability when you sign up and say it's okay to use Facebook Messenger to use your front facing camera and back facing camera like while you're not even using your phone to like look through it essentially. And like you're agreeing to that, so they're selling that information, and I'm not getting any money for this. Who's getting the money? Facebook. And I believe that all
That problem will never get solved unless we get enough people to actually realize what's happening.
that's
When
true.
you sign up for Facebook, you don't read the terms and conditions. When you open any app on your phone, there's always terms and conditions when you use it for the first time. Any service, any product. But how many pages there and nobody uses or I mean goes through and reads the terms and conditions.
But here was an
People just
interesting
hit okay.
here was like an interesting thing though that and it was kind of a take that I liked. So back in the elections, whatever, there was a candidate by the name of Andrew Yang, and right, and he wanted to give everyone essentially $1,000. People were like, "Well, where's he going to get the money?" A lot of the times where his proposal essentially with how we would give like every American right $1,000 is that, well, you're going to tax these tech companies that are selling your information and data mining you and giving you a piece of that money essentially. That's what that would have been happening. And I think that America should try and do that because these tech companies, they're making it barely be a lot like an amount taken away from them because it's like you making more money than $1,000 off my information. You know, I think everyone isn't deserving of that cut, and I'll keep pushing that. If you're using my personal information, I better be getting some sort of compensation for it. That's as simple as that. Like when you go to a focus group for films, for example, and you get paid money for your personal information to say, whether you're male, female, did you like the film, did you not like the film? You're getting paid to be in that focus group, and essentially that's what they're doing to us, and us not getting paid.
Do you think that if something like that happened, do you think Facebook would no longer be free? I think they would.
Possibly, right?
That's why apps are free because when you go, I was actually just I seen a video on this the other day. Somebody made a Linux phone, and Linux is completely open source, and everything on Linux is open to everyone that's on it. So if there's an app developed, if there's a feature for a device, if there's anything on there, it's all completely open source, and you can go in there and manipulate the code. Now, they say Linux is super safe because it doesn't sell your information. But the problem with Linux is you're very limited to the amount of apps that you can use because they don't allow these things to happen. The reason I can go and download this game for free and the developer still gets paid is because when I download the game, there's an agreement with the App Store, whether it's Google Play Store or Apple's Play Store, whichever one you're using. You always see in the game there's going to be ads or there's going to be an in-store purchase. If you never make a purchase, that person still gets paid because they're monitoring what you do in the app and they're monitoring what ads you pay attention to in the app. Because, somehow or sometimes when you're playing a game and then you beat the level and then at the end, there's an ad that you have to view for at least 5 seconds. You're going to get so much money paid for that. Or if you look at the whole app, that's all monitored. Now they know that ad was actually viewed. So now the company that they're advertising for, they pay more for a full view rather than a 5-second view. Whereas on other apps or other platforms like Linux-based stuff where they don't have as many ads, there's not free apps on there, or there's not as much free apps. it either has to be released by the provider or the creator for free, or you have to pay for the app because that's how that creator gets paid because they're not doing ads.
Mhm. Oh, I think, yeah, that makes a lot of sense, and I understand. It would just really kind of suck to have like millions of subscriptions, because well, now nothing's free anymore. But I mean, if that's what you got to do for you to get that $1,000 check he was talking about, that would, I mean,
It'd be nice.
a $4.99 subscription would, I would take 1,000 for that. But
Yeah. And I
my
think
now,
I think these companies will be making though a lot more through advertisements regardless, right? So it's like essentially you're paying $4.99, but there's still these companies got to make money somehow. And I don't think all the subscriptions, like let's say of $4.99, would even remotely come up to all the massive amounts of money that they would get through advertisers. And I know for a fact advertisers, there's no way they would stop and be like, you know what? Oh, well, we're not going to pay Facebook for any sort of advertisement. There's no way. It's insane.
too much.
They would be essentially digging a hole for themselves, But
Yeah.
so I think that, I mean, even places where you're paying for, like let's say, think of like a Hulu or a Netflix, right? Where it is advertiser free or whatnot, but you're paying or whatever, they're still able to sell certain informations that if you're of all male base, if you're all female base, like gonna have that information, and they're gonna sell that to advertisers, right? Like, it's just the information game is something that I think people deserve a chunk of. That's all.
Do you think
Go ahead.
do you think YouTube would be considered a monopoly?
Well, that's Google, really.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
Google. I think.
Yeah.
I don't
I
know
feel
if
like YouTube's the
Google's.
only thing in there. They're like, I mean, streaming side of YouTube, of course, you have Amazon, that's Twitch, which is bigger, but like this, like the YouTube, the whole format of it, like I think it's like kind of borderline in my opinion. I think that it's probably more monopoly than not.
Because it's like, I think, but see, no one's ever really tried to beat YouTube, right? Like they never tried to do another video service.
There was it Vimeo? There was Daily Motion.
I know.
And
Yeah,
there's
there's
a company
Daily
in
Motion. I know there's Storyfire is like another website as well, or something like that.
I think the thing that probably saved YouTube is they haven't bought up any companies that I
Yeah.
know of.
That's true. And
I think
they,
that's probably what it
I don't know.
allowed
It's a
them to.
platform that works, right? Like I don't think it's. I wouldn't see a need, right, to wanna, because you're just uploading videos, right? Like I don't know. Do you have a need for wanting another video service or something?
But he's
Or
I think what
want,
he's
sorry.
getting at, what he's trying to touch on is the fact that we're only using YouTube. They're getting all that ad money, and
Yeah.
kind of off of what you were just saying.
Yeah,
how
that's true. That's true. That's very true.
And they can also, I mean, YouTube was also in trouble for the same stuff Facebook was, where the government was talking about how they believed that they were forcing a specific type of coverage or content onto people to sway their opinions on whatever it is, whether it's election or the vaccine or stuff like that. So, I mean, if we believe that they are a monopoly, then that would kind of be scary too, just like Facebook's is, because
Yeah.
and you could it'd be like we were talking about the big time person, of actress. She tweets something terrible about the virus, and what if it's not true and they're spreading false information? Like,
Yeah, that's true.
it's dangerous.
Yeah, I remember what they did, especially when the virus first happened. Like the video would say if it was like false information and stuff like that. So that was pretty information as well. Or you would have to add a disclaimer, like for example, Kevin Hart has this thing called like What the Fit, and it's about like them. It was like a pretty much like a series of them going and working out with different actors and stuff like that in like public areas, and they would have to, if they're in a big crowd, it has to say like this was filmed before COVID-19. Like it had to have a disclaimer.
Yeah.
Before
Well, and I know. I think YouTube ended up like after a few months, they actually demonetized any video that the person referenced the virus in.
Yeah. That was another thing to kind of. It was to keep away from people trying to use the virus as a tactic.
The way to make money.
Yeah, to make money, like clickbait. There you go. It was to sort of disable that sort of factor for people, which is I remember we actually talked a little bit about the COVID at the time, and I was like making sure that like I didn't even link it as a as tag. I was like, I don't want to get in trouble for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we're a little bit over time. This has been good stuff. Again, everyone, please like and subscribe, but enjoy this word from our sponsor. And if you want to check out our sponsors, the link is going to be in the description below. Adam Stone is actually, his link is not under the little sponsor section, but it's right below that. It's going to be, he's listed as actually one of the people work here. Again, he made the music for our good old intro song and outro. So that's why he's listed under there. But enjoy this word from our sponsor. I often find myself wondering, what's next? What lies ahead? Where do I go? How far will I go? We often think about tomorrow. But what's the point? What's the point of not looking at what we have in front of us? Why not look to the present and be grateful? Why do you run from today? What difference does it make if everything you have today can be gone tomorrow? So I urge you, live for today. Search EBXYA on Amazon today to get all of your XLR cable needs. Link in the description. And we're back from that word from our sponsor. I hope you guys enjoyed. There's something that's been on the mind, all right? And this is a new game, okay? Cyberpunk 2077 has taken the world by storm. And there's been so many internet rumors cutting back to the first what we were talking about, that has hyped up the game since 2012. This game has been in development for that long. And Tyler, you've recently got it, right? You've been getting into it recently, and you've been doing the character customization, and you said you liked it.
Well, I just downloaded it, and I've never really done much character customization. I know some games have really good customer character customization. I don't know why I keep saying customer character customization is what I mean to say. But I've never really done it. I usually flew through those parts of the game, so never really put much thought into it. But I will say I've never had a game completely catch me off guard. So, for the sake of keeping it PG-13, I was just scrolling through the menus. I haven't played the game yet. I haven't made it past creating my character. I didn't even finish creating my character because I just started doing that this morning. And then I'm like, you know what? I'm going to actually take my time because there's a bunch of options. So I picked a female character, and then I started going through the options. And then I picked a male character, and I started going through the options. Well, on the female one, there's like a bunch of different eyes, there's a bunch of different eyebrows, there's a bunch of different facial features, there's a bunch of different noses, there's a bunch of different chin lines, there's everything. But then I'm scrolling down the menus and a little bit more. You can pick how big you want your character's boobs. So I'm like, Oh, okay. I guess that's fair to do. I wasn't ready for her to just take off the clothes and there's boobs. So I was like, cool, that was another surprise, I guess. Um, and then I'm scrolling down a little bit more, and I can also choose to put a penis on this female character. And then
Yeah.
just like the boobs, I can pick how big I want that to be.
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
never this is the part that I was just like,
Man, circumcised, uncircumcised.
oh man.
Like
I
it's a weird customizational option, especially when like I know you can customize those things, but it's not like it's a weird pornographic video game. I would like to point that out. I know those options are in there, but you don't really see any of that stuff in all actuality. Um, so
yeah, I don't know if there's certain scenes in the game where that stuff
I was
might start to peek out a little bit, maybe here and there. I mean, obviously there's not going to be a porno in the game. Maybe there is. I don't know. I
yeah.
didn't look into the game. I wouldn't think there would be.
So there is romance scenes and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
And there's
Well,
there's
not straight up porn.
yeah, but it's not straight up porn. So like that's what I'm saying. Like you can customize the genitals and all that stuff and whatever, but like in actuality you don't even really see that stuff. So that's good because I was kind of freaked out by that. I was like, okay, well, how pornographic is this gonna be? Because then that's kind of ridiculous for a video game, like you know.
Yeah, like that was
Uh,
me. It's like I know very little about the game. I know I've been waiting for this game for a really long time, but I haven't been looking a lot into it because I didn't want to spoil it, especially right before it's about to come out.
So I did a
So
lot of research into it for the most I can for whatever I could find, whatever. And then I was gonna let myself be just totally surprised by the story. And I did watch some few videos on the story, whatever. Nothing crazy spoilery, like mainly from the prologue of the game. So I don't know a crazy deal about the game, but I too have the game and I have it for console. Now here's the thing: is like we were promised all this crazy graphical goodness, and the game's launch has been pushed back like a million times, at least the minimum like 4 or 5 times. Like this thing has been pushed back already, and for the release date. Like they're always giving you a new release date. Oh, we're trying to work out the thing. There are so many freaking bugs in the game so far. And it's not just for console, it's PC as well. There's T-posing bugs. There's bugs for like people phasing through things. Think of
mhm.
Skyrim bugs. That is what's happening in Cyberpunk. And I'm not gonna lie, that pisses me off. And I'll tell you why. Because they delayed the game so much. If you're gonna delay the game like a million times, like freaking 5 times, I expect the game
Right.
to be running at pristine quality. I expect minimal bugs. Like there's gonna be bugs, and I forgive bugs, right? You just fix it in an update. But there shouldn't have been this many bugs on release. That is ridiculous. Now that's one thing, and it takes you out of the story. Let me tell you, like I've never been taken out of the story before, but like the bugs that I've seen here take me out of the story. Now, and another thing is that you're promised like this, just the rumors for this game and like the hype from this game has been like this game was supposed to be the most revolutionary thing that we have ever seen, the greatest story that we have ever seen, the craziest customization you have ever seen. And we get into customization of character, right? Oh, cool, you could customize genitals. But like for the face, not a lot of hair options, one. Not a lot of face options. Like when you're getting into, like I figured like it would be like Fallout. Like you can maybe sculpt your face or something, or like a Mass Effect where you can sculpt your face a little bit and, really get into the detail of your character. But you can't. You're just adjusting the nose, the eyes, or whatever. You can't even adjust the height of like your eyes or whatever, make it look like crazy, or the depth of your eyes or anything. Yet in Fallout, you can adjust all these things. So okay, there's that kind of disappointing factor. Not as much customization as you thought was going to be in the game. For cars, by
So
the way,
with what you're explaining now, is there like any slight differences between PC and Xbox? Because
you
I was able to make a lot of adjustments to the things that you said you couldn't adjust much.
What do you mean? No,
Like I
it's
could
the
have the
same.
eyes where they were bigger or they were spread apart or put together or sunk in more, and I could change how the eyes looked. Like there was like 20
There
options for
wasn't
every menu.
really as much depth though to it. No, it's not changed. Like I compared the two because I want to make sure, right? Same things, same options. It seems like a wide array. It's not as good as I would say Fallout or another game. Like I said, I feel like another. And is it doing anything new? Like the options are cool, but is it doing anything new? Right? Wow,
I
genitals.
really
Okay.
wouldn't say it's doing anything
Right?
new when
Like
you
that's the thing,
compare
but
it to
that's what I was
Fallout.
promised. Something new.
Yeah, Fallout 76 was, I think it was a better character customization
Yeah.
process.
So then,
But
okay, then there's that part of it. You can't even customize vehicles. Like, there's no vehicle customization. You buy a vehicle, that's it. So if you're thinking, Tyler, that you're getting in this game and there might be some sort of customization for vehicles, nothing. All right. So again, that's nothing really to information.
yeah, I read that too, that there was no vehicle customization. I was kind of
Yeah.
disappointed in that because they really have some more kind of bizarre vehicles in there. Like I figured you were going to be able to put different parts and stuff on your car for like, I don't know, bumpers or guns or weird light stuff, or I kind of figured they were going to have stuff like that, and it was a little bit of a letdown when I found out that they didn't.
Well, I have a question. So you guys were explaining, were you able to put, were you able to create a character that was, in a sense, female, but also with the male anatomy on it in the older games too?
No. No, that's new.
I was because when I heard that, I was like, wow, that's like really
Yeah, that's the part
like
that
new.
blindsided me. I wasn't ready to see that. I've never seen that in another game before, and I was like, "Whoa, you're gonna allow me to make this a he she or?"
Yeah, right?
Very
So
in my eyes, it's very progressive for
it's
that to happen.
progressive for the like right like transgender community, um, and so that's a good thing, right? But like again, I thought it was like gonna be, and I'm not even against that either. I'm like, okay, cool, but it's just still, I don't know. They hyped it up to be more, you know. I'm just talking more along the lines of like sculpting the face and making
Mm.
a really crazy customizable character. But anyway, then you have the vehicles, then you have the weapons. So there's not a crazy amount of customization. So that's like one point that I had. Second point. Now, normally I've bought games for Xbox and seen how beautiful they look on PC. But like normally there's like no like the game Ghost Recon Breakpoint. The graphics are absolutely amazing to it, and I can imagine on PC they're even better than what I even have. But the
Oh, they're way better.
graphics that I have on Xbox are still beautiful. Like I can see that. Now on Cyberpunk, the difference is surmountable. Like they literally, it feels like, oh my goodness, Tyler, like that game when you look at it on PC, beyond clear. On Xbox, it is so fuzzy. Like I don't know what it is. I've never, like I said, I've never experienced that in a video game my whole life. And
It's
like I've seen the
weird how
differences, right?
explaining
And it's not like one of those things where like, oh well, it's just PC superior. No, 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 no. It's literally night and day difference. Like it's ridiculous. Like I don't think there's any excuse for that. Like literally.
This is one of the games, and this is one of the reasons it was delayed. Actually, is because they were re-optimizing it for ray tracing, which AMD and Nvidia just came out with really good ray tracing cards, and also the new consoles came out with a whole different. When you compare your Xbox One X to the Xbox Series X, the rendering process and the horsepower are just so different that when your Xbox is trying to run this game, it has to actually render it at a really low resolution and then upscale it. And that's where you're seeing this fuzziness. And also light production, shadowing, and all that kind of stuff. It's all physics based. And your Xbox does not have, well, it has shaders and everything, but they're not the same as even my card in my computer that's 4 years old.
Yeah, and it's
And then
just
when you want to, if you want to compare that to the new stuff that just came out, it's even night and day comparing my computer to a brand new computer. So
yeah.
it's just the level of horsepower in the consoles that it's just not there for that game. So they have to dumb it down so much for that game to get
They just
30 frames per second.
I guess so, right? The new now, like on Series X or whatever, because some people have played it and they've seen the gameplay on it. Obviously, right? Like the new software, or whatever, they had
Mhm.
it where it's a little bit upscaled, and they're working on a Series X and PS5 like version, like so that way when you play it on there, it's gonna update even more, where it's obviously even closer to PC. But on the Xbox, like I'm just disappointed. I'm very disappointed. You talk about revolutionary game and something that I figured was going to be, I didn't never ran into this issue in my whole life. And now running into this issue of having this fuzz and even color shift, and I'm disappointed. I am generally disappointed in that aspect of the game. And now another thing is the story. I was promised like this crazy, like it's going to be a story that's revolutionary. The character is going to be, the options, right, are going to be different. It's going to feel, and even the interactions with, how would you say, the people on the everyday street was going to be something that you can connect with. And that's not even in the game. Like all the people, like the NPCs, are just placed in areas that is where I've seen better in like a Watch Dogs, like the NPCs running around like just doing daily tasks and stuff, or even in how would you say, GTA. I've seen them even be, they're better than the NPCs that you see in Cyberpunk. And that's another
Yeah, I
disappointing.
think we're running into the same trend that Fallout 76 had. I think there's going to be a lot of updating and a lot of stuff that's going to make these changes as the game goes.
Yeah.
Which I'm on the same page as you. About what is it, 8 years, 9 years, whatever. I mean, if they had 4 years to develop the game, I would have thought it would have enough time to put together the story and have the NPCs and all that other stuff. But since you're literally taking double or maybe more than that,
Yeah.
like why isn't that stuff developed? And I can understand we're releasing new consoles, we're releasing new hardware for computers. I can understand the glitching through a wall or something like that because that could be hardware bug related. Whereas when you're creating a game, you're creating the software. When new hardware comes out, you have to adjust your software to work with it. So I get that. But the story and how the game is meant to be, that's the part that I just don't understand why it seems like it's lacking after
Yeah.
such a long time.
It was just, it's not like horribly it's still a good play. Trust me. It's a good campaign or whatever. But I was just promised so much more through these, like, so Junior's right. Rumors is definitely ruins things. It honestly, internet rumors ruin everything, and it ruined my perspective on this game.
I'm hoping when I play the game
You're gonna
I
have
truly
fun.
get a better
You're
experience.
gonna
I'm
have fun. No,
hoping I'm
trust me,
gonna
you're gonna have
enjoy
fun.
it.
It's a fun game, and I'm not gonna take that away
Now,
from Cyberpunk. And it's a good
I
story.
didn't look up all the game stuff. I didn't go on the internet and search up the game. I didn't look at gameplay. I looked at a little bit of like graphic stuff and stuff like that, but I didn't like look at missions or anything. So maybe I didn't ruin it for myself. Maybe I don't have all the expectations.
And
So
here's
I'm
another
hoping
thing.
it's not as bad for me.
Another even aspect of it was like, right, the promise of, oh, you even like romances. Like in a game like they have, right, where you can romance a character and you get like this full story where you're with this character and you it's this whole cool like backstory that you
I
can
mean, the way they
create,
were talking about it, I was kind of expecting almost a little like not Sims, but kind
right?
of the same thing.
In Mass Effect,
Hearing that
right?
that's not there.
In Mass Effect, if you wanted to have that romance option, you wanted to romance a character, there was like 6 characters you can choose from. It was insane, like 8 characters, like almost every character you can romance, like real life, where it felt like, okay, it's like real life. This game, Tyler, only 4. Only 4. Like they only did a storyline for 4 characters, and you can't even really choose like, right, like what sort of aspect. It's just it's disappointing when they promise like this whole just innovative crazy look towards in the gameplay. By the way, it plays like Fallout, so just some more smoother Fallout. That's what it felt like to me too. So it's like nothing new. I just was expecting so much more new. I was expecting like Mass Effect levels of campaign, story development, choices. That's what I was expecting, and instead I got a Fallout game. Like I got something that's been done before. That's all I'm saying. It's like, and that's where I got disappointed with this game. And I'm not too far into it. I'm still in the very beginning, but I mean, like I said, I've looked up a little bit of gameplay, and I looked into even like because I was curious. I'm like, if this game is like the graphics are like this, and like I'm already seeing the campaign like that, I'm gonna look in to see how many people you can romance. 4 people. I was like, okay, what else can you do? And I'm looking into all this stuff, and I was like, where's all the crazy options? And like you're promised, like, oh, everyone's gonna have a different ending, and it's like
Well,
there's like
I'm
only like
hoping it's
5
gonna be
different
like
endings.
GTA where you get like mass amounts of DLCs, and maybe there's more and more that you can download, or maybe in the future there's gonna be
Yeah, I'm sure
more of
there
these
is. Like they're gonna
characters that are
add a
gonna be
multiplayer
available.
feature to the game. Apparently, right? Like that's rumors
Mhm.
of what's being told. They're gonna add that multiplayer, but like I said, at the end of the day, I being that this game was so hyped up since 2012, I was expecting way more. And especially from CD Projekt Red that created Witcher, and The Witcher is like a phenomenal game. Again, both beautiful on console and PC. Even more beautiful obviously on PC, but even beautiful on console. Like you're able to enjoy those graphics. So just a lot of disappointment. That's all I'm going to say. A lot of disappointment from my end. And
You think that these companies are just biting off more than they can chew, like they don't have the resources to put into all of these areas?
I don't think so. There was a point, right? Like
I
this
kind of think that they
this is a
I don't think
company
these
that
companies are big enough.
I believe this is a company that's out in Poland, and Poland is dealing with a lot of strikes and stuff right now. With the LGBT community and like abortion, all this stuff. So, like they got a whole lot of political things. So that my friend Gabby, who was on the podcast before, Flantian, go check her out. She's an artist, but she was telling me all about that, like how that could possibly be a factor on it, which is true. But if you've been developing the game since 2012, it shouldn't be. This is stuff that's happening this year. What happened all the other years, right? That when you're developing the game. So it was a letdown. That's all. I think it's a good game. It's a good play. I suggest people to play it. Like it's a phenomenal story. It's gonna be cool, but it's just nothing like they promised that is revolutionary. It's overhyped. That's what it's a good game, right? And it deserves praise, but it was just yeah, it's not revolutionary. It's just another game. But that's all I have to say about that. I know it's a rant. I know it's very pessimistic. Tyler, you're going to enjoy the game, and I still have a lot more to play. And I know I'm going to enjoy the game too, but those are my disappointments for the game that I had to tell someone about because I was going crazy seeing all
Yeah.
this stuff.
Like I said, I think it's going to be the same as Fallout 76. The release was shit, but now it's a better game.
Yeah.
Didn't
Which
CD
is-
Projekt Red get bought by Microsoft?
No. Not that I'm aware of. I don't
They
think
bought
they
their
have.
like other company.
That was unless you're thinking of Bethesda and
I'm thinking of Bethesda. Yeah, you're
yeah.
right. You're right.
and ZeniMax, which they bought their parent company ZeniMax, which is also Bethesda as well. But yeah, that was that's my take on Cyberpunk. You know, it's a good game. I suggest people go out there, but if you're expecting all the promises of like this crazy revolutionary new open world experience, you're not really getting it. It's just think Fallout or think a little bit of Mass Effect in there. It's just an RPG game. Like what can you expect? You know, and I will say this: it's probably difficult to innovate in an RPG and give everyone the same storyline and tell the story that you want to tell, which is understandable. So I'll give it that. But with that said, you know, we're running pretty over time. And I want to thank you guys for listening. Again, sorry for the inconsistencies recently around this holiday season. It's mainly me, right? I've at the end of my semester, and there's just a lot of schoolwork and other stuff that I'll probably talk about in the next episode. But thank you guys for tuning in. We'll be sure to get these episodes out for you on time, hopefully. And if not, you know what? It's okay. We'll figure it out, all right? We're the amateur hour. We're getting things going. We're trying to be as professional as possible. So again, I do apologize for the late uploads. Please like and subscribe. As usual, please follow us. And follow us on our social media. Again, link in the description. Just click that link tree. It takes you to everything you need to know. But with that said, we love you. Bye.